The entire courtroom froze when my daughter burst in shouting, "Stop!" her phone shaking in her hand. And the moment she placed it on the judge's desk, I realized the man who had crushed my soul for years was about to be destroyed in under a minute. I will never forget that sound. It wasn't just a door opening. It was a sharp, heavy crack, almost like a muffled gunshot. And for a second, it felt as if the universe itself had held its breath. The hearing had been tense from the beginning, but it still carried that artificial formality, the kind where everyone performs their roles like actors in a legal play. I was used to that. Rooms where I spoke little and he spoke a lot. Rooms where my truth evaporated into the air, as if my suffering were nothing but emotional exaggeration. But the moment Emily walked in, nothing felt rehearsed anymore. Nothing felt controlled. My daughter crossed the courtroom like someone walking through a minefield. Red face, short breaths, gripping the phone so tightly I heard the plastic crack. Her eyes, God, her eyes. The look of someone carrying a secret far too big for a body that young. The judge's eyebrows shot up. His pen stopped mid-sentence. My attorney touched my arm. And Claudio's attorney, my ex-husband's, practically leapt from his chair, stumbling as he tried to reach her, like someone desperately trying to stop a fire before it hit the wrong wall. "She can't! She's underage! This is prohibited! Your Honor, stop her!" he shouted, terrified, spitting his words with panic. And that panic gave everything away. Claudio went pale. P-A-L. As if he'd seen a ghost, the kind you recognize instantly. Because, in a way, he had. His daughter was the only person who truly saw him, the only witness to the face he hid from the world. And now she was here, holding the phone he never realized she had in her hands, holding the video he never imagined would see daylight. Emily stepped forward, then another, each heavier than the last, like she was carrying the truth with both hands. I wanted to get up, wanted to hold her, wanted to protect her, but my legs were frozen, glued to the floor like I was part of the chair. When she opened her mouth, her voice came out broken but steady. This can't go on." My throat closed instantly, because that sentence wasn't about the hearing. It was about our whole life. The judge raised his hand for silence, and for the first time, that silence didn't suffocate me. It protected my daughter. "Approach. You have 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds that would change everything." Emily walked toward the judge's desk with slow, deliberate steps, like someone holding a grenade with the pin already pulled. Her hands were trembling, but I could see the courage too, a courage I thought I had lost somewhere along the way. When she placed the phone on the desk, she set it down so gently, as if she were placing a piece of her soul there. The faint thud echoed inside me like thunder. I knew there was something on that phone that I had never had the courage to record. Something that could finally prove that I wasn't dramatic, unstable, fragile. I was a victim. The judge looked at her with an expression I'll never forget, a blend of surprise, respect, and concern. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Emily didn't speak. She simply nodded. And that nod shattered the perfect mask Claudio had built for years. He jumped up. "Emily, no! You don't understand what you're doing. This will ruin everything." The judge sliced through his voice like a blade. "Sit." And for the first time, I saw my ex obey a command without argument. The bailiff picked up the phone, connected it to the screen, and when the display lit up, I felt like I was about to watch my entire life being taken apart. I looked at Emily. She looked at me as if saying, "Mom, I saw it all. I understood everything. Now the world will too." When the video began, the room dimmed. The air thickened. The sound of his voice filled the courtroom. And just from the first sentence, I knew the truth he hid for years had finally been handed to the right person, my daughter. And I had no idea. This was only the beginning. Before that hearing, before the video, before my daughter's courage, before everything collapsed and finally rebuilt, my life was made of tiny silences that hurt like slow stabbing. And it's strange to say, but sometimes what hurts the most isn't what is said, it's what never gets said out loud. I lived next to a man who knew exactly how to tear me apart without ever raising his voice. And for years, I thought that was just a personality difference. I thought the problem was me. I thought I was too sensitive, too weak, too intense. Now, looking back, I see it clearly. I wasn't weak. I was being crushed. The breakfast that always started with a verdict. Every morning, I made coffee with a care that, today, I understand was fear. Even the sound of the spoon stirring sugar in his mug made me anxious because I knew any little detail could be a reason for criticism. I remember one day so clearly. I set his mug down on the table. He looked at the coffee and wrinkled his nose. "Really, Lorena? Again? You never get it right. It's either too weak or too strong. It's like you do it just to annoy me." I froze. Such a small sentence, so simple, but in that moment, it felt like a slap. I forced a smile. "Sorry, I'll make another one." He gave that little half smirk, the cold one he used when he wanted to drag me below zero. "Doesn't matter. The problem isn't the coffee. It's you." He grabbed his briefcase and left. And I just stood there, holding the mug like it was defective. Like I was defective. Now I know, it was never about the coffee. It was about control. The day Emily looked at me like she never had before. This was a few months before the hearing. I was loading the washer when I heard Emily arguing with him in the kitchen. She rarely argued. She always tried to be the peacemaker. "Dad, why do you talk to her like that?" "She knows why. If you grew up seeing what I see, you'd understand." I stopped in the hallway. I didn't want to walk in. I didn't want to hear. But I heard anyway. Emily's face was tense, like her chest hurt. When she noticed me, her expression changed. It was this mix of pity, confusion, shame, and guilt. At the time, I thought, she believes him. She thinks I'm really the problem. And that destroyed me inside. But now I know it wasn't disdain. It was fear. Emily was trying to tell me with her eyes, "Mom, he's not who you think. I want to tell you. I just don't know how." And I didn't see it. The day he humiliated me in front of a friend. My friend Juliana came over. I almost never had visitors, but that day she showed up unannounced with cake and coffee. We were laughing in the living room, a light kind of laughter I didn't feel often anymore. Then Claudio came home from work. He looked at me first, then at the cake, then at Juliana. Interesting. When it's for me, you never have this much energy. For guests, you somehow do. Juliana went quiet, uncomfortable. I tried to laugh it off, but my face burned. He kept going. Too bad she only acts nice when someone's watching. Day to day, it's a whole different story. Juliana glanced at me, shocked. I lowered my head. After that, she never came back. I stopped replying to her messages too. I stopped having friends. I stopped having a life because he always built versions of me that pushed people away. And I let it happen because I believed I was the problem. The night I fell apart on the bathroom floor and didn't dare make a sound. I remember the locked door, the cold tile, the towel pressed over my mouth to muffle my crying. The feeling that if I sobbed too loud, he'd say, "See, there she goes again, crazy." I'd spend hours swallowing my pain. But the worst part was knowing that sometimes Emily went to sleep hearing it. And I could tell by her eyes the next morning that she knew. She knew I cried. She knew I hurt. She knew I was afraid to exist around him. And that knowing made her pull away from me. She was trying to survive the same man who was destroying me, just in her own way. The first clear sign Emily was hiding something. One day, her backpack was open on the bed. A notebook, some loose papers, and a small note in her handwriting. "I know what you do." I picked it up. I didn't know if it was for me or for him. When she walked in and saw the note in my hand, she went white. "Mom, it's nothing, please." She snatched it away. Her hands were shaking, really shaking. And I still missed the obvious. She was trying to tell me she knew what he was doing, that she saw what I refused to see, that she heard what I tried to drown out, that she understood what I kept minimizing. But I was so destroyed, I couldn't even read my own daughter's signs. The night before the hearing, I went to bed early, but I didn't sleep. Emily walked down the hall 3 times. She'd stop at my door, stand there, then turn back. I heard her footsteps, her breathing, the silence. And deep down, way down in my chest, I knew something was about to happen. Something big. Something that would change everything. But I didn't know it would be her. My daughter. The girl I thought I'd lost to him. I didn't know that the next morning, she would walk into that courtroom like a force of nature. Not to destroy our family, but to save her mother. It's funny how people say, a mother always knows, right? And it's true. We do know. The body warns, the chest tightens, the eyes catch things. But when you spend years being called dramatic, confused, unstable, you start doubting even your own instincts. I had felt for a long time that something was very wrong with Emily. It wasn't just adolescence. It wasn't just moodiness. It wasn't hormones. It was something deeper, heavier, sad in a way that didn't belong to a girl her age. I saw it, but I didn't trust myself enough to follow what I saw. The first sign that haunted me, the half-closed door. One day, I got home earlier than usual. Claudio wasn't back from work yet. The house was silent, the kind of silence that feels off. As I walked down the hallway, I heard a low voice. His voice, coming from Emily's room. Instant alarm. He rarely spent time with her unless he wanted to look like the involved parent in public. The door was slightly ajar. As I got closer, I heard him say, "You need to say exactly what I told you, Emily. If you don't, we lose. And if we lose, it'll be your fault." My heart dropped. My hands started sweating. Emily's voice came next, trembling. "But Dad, she's my mom." And he answered, sharp and cold, "She's unstable. You know that. You've seen it. If you don't tell the judge what I told you, he'll think I'm lying. And then they'll take you away from me." It felt like being hit in the head. I knew I should open the door. I should interrupt. I should defend her. Defend myself. But I froze. My body locked between 2 fears. The fear of walking in, and the fear of what he'd do to me afterward. I stepped back, went to the kitchen, washed dishes with trembling hands. And that night, I pretended nothing happened. But that scene never left me. The phone as a black box. After that, I started paying attention to Emily's phone. She had never been secretive. She used to leave it everywhere, bed, desk, couch, unlocked, full of silly memes and school group chats. But suddenly, everything changed. She kept it on silent, face down, took it with her even to the bathroom. One afternoon on the couch, I saw her press play on a voice note. His voice played, low but unmistakable. She paused it so fast she dropped the phone. "Sweetie, what was that?" She went pale. "Nothing, Mom. School stuff." She had always been a terrible liar, but back then, I didn't have the strength to question her. I was afraid of finding out how much he had already taken from her. What I didn't know was that phone wasn't just a phone anymore. It was evidence, witness, black box. And my daughter? My daughter was learning to record things I myself never dared to document. The day I saw her look at herself in the mirror. One day, I walked into her room without knocking, my mistake. She was sitting in front of the mirror, staring at her own face like she didn't recognize herself. When she saw me, she jolted. "Mom, knock!" "Sorry, honey, I just wanted to know if you were going to eat." But before answering, she looked at me through the mirror, and I froze, because the way she was looking at herself was the same way I had looked at myself for years. A look of someone who feels wrong, not enough, broken, a burden. My heart cracked. "You okay, Em?" She shrugged. "Yeah, just tired. Tired." The same word I used to hide pain. After she left the room, I stayed there, standing where she had been, looking at my reflection instead. And a thought hit me hard. He didn't just break me, he planted the same seeds in both of us. The argument I heard through the front door. Another night, I arrived home and heard Claudio yelling on the phone, pacing in the living room. He didn't know I was standing outside the door. "You think I'll let that woman take everything from me? Never. I have Emily on my side. She knows what I've been through." It sounded like he was talking to his lawyer. My stomach twisted. I have Emily on my side. That phrase made me sick. At that moment, I believed he got to her. He turned her against me. And that belief shattered me. What I didn't know was, Emily was in her room listening too. She cried quietly because she didn't want to choose sides, but she was terrified of disobeying him. He was using her as shield, as bait, as chess piece. And once again, I didn't see it. The day my intuition screamed, the dropped recorder. This was the spark, though I only understood it later. We fought in the kitchen, not a loud fight. The fights that scar the deepest are the ones spoken quietly. "You're a terrible mother, a terrible wife. You're terrible at everything." I froze. He stepped closer, voice low and hateful. "And the best thing that could happen is the judge seeing exactly who you are. You'd do everyone a favor if you disappeared." My legs gave out. As soon as he walked away, I held onto the counter, trying to breathe. Then I heard it, a small plastic clatter near the door. I turned. Emily's old language recorder, the one she used for homework, had fallen on the floor. She was there, behind the door, listening, recording, whether by accident or on purpose. When it fell, she rushed in, terrified. "Mom, I'm sorry, She grabbed it with shaking hands and ran off. Deep down, a part of me knew that moment mattered, but I was too drained, too wounded, too numb. I didn't ask, I didn't chase after her, I didn't have the strength. And she, all alone, made her choice. If no one will defend my mom, I will. That was the seed, the beginning of the video, the proof, the courage. The morning of the hearing, I barely slept. My chest was tight, head full of broken scenes. When I arrived at the courthouse, I saw Emily in the hallway, leaning against the wall, gripping her phone with both hands, breathing fast, eyes watery. She looked like two versions of herself were fighting inside her, one wanting to run, the other wanting to erupt. "Em," she looked up slowly, and in her eyes, I saw everything at once. Guilt, love, fear, resolve. "Mom," her voice cracked. "If today is the chance, I'm doing the right thing." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She looked at the phone, then at the courtroom door. "You'll see." I could have asked more. I could have pressed. I could have insisted. But something in me, a small, quiet, ancient intuition, said, "Let her. Trust her." So I did. And I had no idea just how right I was. I always thought I had already seen everything from Claudio. The manipulation, the distortions, the daily micro-humiliations, the tone of voice that sounded calm but sliced my self-esteem from the inside. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for what happened inside that courtroom. I walked into the hearing with my soul curled in on itself. It felt as if the walls were watching me, evaluating whether I was stable enough to be taken seriously. Claudio was already seated, polished, composed, wearing that posture of superiority so familiar to me. The kind of posture that silently announces, "I'm the reasonable one here." When he saw me, he gave a short, almost friendly smile, the same smile he used when he wanted to disguise contempt. And instantly, that old sensation hit my chest, the feeling of shrinking, of disappearing, of losing the narrative before I even opened my mouth. But that day, I had no idea the script was about to flip. The start of the hearing, where he thought he'd win again. My attorney, Dr. Helena, told me to breathe deeply. She knew my worst enemy wasn't the case itself. It was how he dominated the room. His attorney started speaking, and the story was the same as always. My client is a man of integrity. The mother displays emotionally unstable behavior. Our priority is to protect the minor from a toxic environment. Toxic environment. That phrase echoed inside me like a cruel joke. I wanted to speak, wanted to stand up, wanted to say that's not who I am. But my lips didn't move. I froze, the same paralysis he had trained into me for years. And then it happened. A loud, sharp noise behind me. A door slammed open. My spine tingled before I even turned. The beginning of the mask shattering. Emily walked in. Not quietly, not politely, not cautiously. She stormed in. Her hand trembled so hard the phone nearly slipped, but she held it like it was the only thing keeping her upright. The judge frowned. Who authorized? He didn't finish. Claudio's attorney jumped up so fast he almost fell. This is unacceptable. She's underage. This is illegal. Your Honor, stop her. His tone was not authoritative. It was terrified, pure panic. Because he knew, if Emily was there, she wasn't there to stay silent. Claudio got up too, pale, confused, trying desperately to regain control. Emily, what are you doing? We talked about this. But Emily didn't look at him, not once, not even for a second. She only looked at me. And in her eyes, I saw something I'd never seen before. Resolve. Fear and resolve living inside the same heartbeat. She inhaled sharply. No one here knows the truth. Silence. A silence so thick it split the room in two. The judge lifted a hand. Come forward. Say what you need to say. His lawyer erupted. Objection! This is invalid! Sit down. The judge's voice cut the air like a knife. The young woman has 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds worth years of suffering. Emily walked forward, each step slow, heavy, intentional. The room felt hotter, smaller, denser. Then she placed the phone on the judge's desk, carefully, almost reverently, as if laying down something fragile or explosive. The soft thud of the phone on the wood sounded inside me like a verdict. I knew. I didn't know what was in it, but I knew it was big. I knew it was damning. I knew it was the truth I had never been able to prove. The judge looked at her. Are you sure? And my daughter, the daughter I thought I had lost to him, simply nodded. That nod shattered everything. Claudio lurched forward. "Emily, no, you don't know what you're doing. This will ruin everything." Before he could finish, the judge ordered, "Sit down, Mr. Resende." He sat, not out of respect, but because his leg buckled. For the first time, he felt fear, real fear, fear of the truth. The bailiff took the phone, looked at the screen. His face changed instantly, like someone watching a crime happen in real time. He connected the device to the monitor. The click of the cable sounded like a sentence, like the beginning of his downfall. I looked at Emily. She looked back, her eyes saying, "Mom, this time the world will see what we lived." The bailiff pressed play. The screen lit up. The room sank into silence. And when his voice filled the speakers, sharp, cruel, unfiltered, I realized something. The video wasn't just evidence. It was justice. It was my truth, for the first time in my life, being heard. And this was only the beginning. I always thought I had already seen everything from Claudio. The manipulation, the distortions, the daily micro-humiliations, the tone of voice that sounded calm but sliced my self-esteem from the inside. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for what happened inside that courtroom. I walked into the hearing with my soul curled in on itself. It felt as if the walls were watching me, evaluating whether I was stable enough to be taken seriously. Claudio was already seated, polished, composed, wearing that posture of superiority so familiar to me. The kind of posture that silently announces, "I'm the reasonable one here." When he saw me, he gave a short, almost friendly smile, the same smile he used when he wanted to disguise contempt. And instantly, that old sensation hit my chest, the feeling of shrinking, of disappearing, of losing the narrative before I even opened my mouth. But that day, I had no idea the script was about to flip. The start of the hearing, where he thought he'd win again. My attorney, Dr. Helena, told me to breathe deeply. She knew my worst enemy wasn't the case itself. It was how he dominated the room. His attorney started speaking, and the story was the same as always. My client is a man of integrity. The mother displays emotionally unstable behavior. Our priority is to protect the minor from a toxic environment. Toxic environment. That phrase echoed inside me like a cruel joke. I wanted to speak, wanted to stand up, wanted to say that's not who I am. But my lips didn't move. I froze, the same paralysis he had trained into me for years. And then it happened. A loud, sharp noise behind me. A door slammed open. My spine tingled before I even turned. The beginning of the mask shattering. Emily walked in. Not quietly, not politely, not cautiously. She stormed in. Her hand trembled so hard the phone nearly slipped, but she held it like it was the only thing keeping her upright. The judge frowned. Who authorized? He didn't finish. Claudio's attorney jumped up so fast he almost fell. "This is unacceptable. She's underage. This is illegal. Your Honor, stop her." His tone was not authoritative. It was terrified, pure panic. Because he knew, if Emily was there, she wasn't there to stay silent. Claudio got up too, pale, confused, trying desperately to regain control. "Emily, what are you doing? We talked about this." But Emily didn't look at him, not once, not even for a second. She only looked at me. And in her eyes, I saw something I'd never seen before. Resolve. Fear and resolve, living inside the same heartbeat. She inhaled sharply. No one here knows the truth. Silence. A silence so thick it split the room in two. The judge lifted a hand. Come forward. Say what you need to say. His lawyer erupted. Objection! This is invalid! Sit down. The judge's voice cut the air like a knife. The young woman has 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds worth years of suffering. Emily walked forward, each step slow, heavy, intentional. The room felt hotter, smaller, denser. Then she placed the phone on the judge's desk, carefully, almost reverently, as if laying down something fragile or explosive. The soft thud of the phone on the wood sounded inside me like a verdict. I knew. I didn't know what was in it, but I knew it was big. I knew it was damning. I knew it was the truth I had never been able to prove. The judge looked at her. Are you sure? And my daughter, the daughter I thought I had lost to him, simply nodded. That nod shattered everything. Claudio lurched forward. Emily, no, you don't know what you're doing. This will ruin everything. Before he could finish, the judge ordered, Sit down, Mr. Resende. He sat, not out of respect, but because his leg buckled. For the first time, he felt fear, real fear, fear of the truth. The bailiff took the phone, looked at the screen. His face changed instantly, like someone watching a crime happen in real time. He connected the device to the monitor. The click of the cable sounded like a sentence, like the beginning of his downfall. I looked at Emily. She looked back, her eyes saying, Mom, this time the world will see what we lived. The bailiff pressed play. The screen lit up. The room sank into silence. And when his voice filled the speakers, sharp, cruel, unfiltered, I realized something. The video wasn't just evidence. It was justice. It was my truth, for the first time in my life, being heard. And this was only the beginning. When the bailiff pressed play again, this time with the volume raised and the judge leaning forward, eyes sharp, the air in the courtroom thickened. Not metaphorically, it genuinely felt heavier, like breathing took effort. And deep down, I knew. The truth was about to cut, to burn, to reopen wounds I'd buried for years. But for the first time, the truth was fighting for me. The screen lit up, and there he was, Claudio, exactly as he was behind closed doors. Not the kind man, the solid provider, the devoted father he portrayed in public, but the real one, the one only we knew. Arrogant posture, sharp gaze, calculated cruelty woven into every word. Emily stood near the door in the video, tense, scared. And then the line that cracked the entire room. You're going to say exactly what we rehearsed, Emily. Your mother cannot win. Her voice trembled. Dad, this is wrong. And then he laughed. A short, cold laugh, the one I knew too well. The one he always gave before saying something cruel. Wrong is what she does. Wrong is being weak. You want to be weak like her? I heard people in the courtroom gasp, not loudly, but enough to feel the shock ripple through the air. The judge's jaw tightened. My attorney straightened. His attorney rubbed his forehead, defeated. And Claudio began to sweat. Not metaphorical sweat, visible beads running down his temple. He knew. He knew this was the moment the world finally saw who he really was. The video kept going, and it got worse. He stepped closer in the video. Emily flinched back. It was a tiny step, But everyone in that courtroom saw it. The judge exhaled slowly, a sound that said everything. Then came the blow that cut deepest. Listen closely, girl. I'm not losing everything because of some unstable woman. If you don't do your part, there will be consequences. Consequences? My stomach dropped. Emily, in the real courtroom, covered her mouth. Her tears fell silently. "I'm scared, Dad," Video Emily whispered. And he answered, "Fear teaches." The room reacted. Audible shock, hands covering mouths, a slow collective murmuring full of disbelief and disgust. The judge leaned back, stunned. The bailiff looked furious. Even the clerk froze. And I felt something inside me break, but not in pain, in clarity. For years, this was the voice that shaped my days, my fear, my silence. For years, I was told exaggerated, confused, overreacting. But here it was, the cruelty in HD, unfiltered, undeniable. The moment that destroyed his entire narrative. The judge asked the bailiff, "Advance 30 seconds." And then came the sentence that split my soul open. "Your mother thinks she can keep you? Pathetic. I can make her look crazy whenever I want." Gaslighting, not subtle, not disguised, not twisted, raw, blatant, recorded. I pressed a hand to my chest. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. Emily sobbed silently. People in the courtroom shook their heads, disgusted. And Claudio, he collapsed into his chair, as if the weight of his own truth crushed him. His attorney jumped up desperately. "This could be edited, manipulated. We can't trust." The judge cut him off. "Bailiff, metadata." The bailiff didn't hesitate. Authentic. No cuts, no edits. Original file. His attorney sat down, defeated, drained, out of moves. Claudio muttered, "This is a setup. This is not." But no one was listening. No one believed him anymore. And for the first time in my life, I felt something rise inside me. Validation. The validation I had begged for, prayed for, doubted I'd ever receive. The turning point, the judge speaks. He paused the video, folded his hands, and stared directly at Claudio. "Mr. Resende, explain this." Claudio opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Nothing. He looked at me, as if I were the one betraying him, and choked out, "Lorena, you..." But I stopped him with my eyes. Firm, steady, unmoving. For the first time, he saw it. I wasn't afraid of him anymore. And that terrified him more than the video. He scrambled. It means nothing. She provoked me. The girl misunderstood." The judge delivered the final blow. "It means everything. And this hearing is over." Claudio collapsed into his chair, a puppet whose strings had finally broken. Custody is transferred immediately to the mother. The father will have supervised visitation only. The district attorney's office will be notified to investigate coercion of a minor. It was over. Truly over. The feeling of freedom I didn't expect. A heat flooded my chest. Not panic, not fear. Freedom. Raw, trembling, overwhelming freedom. Emily looked at me with watery eyes and a small, trembling smile, as if saying, "Mom, we made it." I reached out for her hand. She grabbed mine, and in that moment, I felt something between us mend. Thread by thread, breath by breath, truth by truth. They escorted Claudio out. He tried to look at Emily, trying to salvage some last scrap of control. But she didn't flinch. She didn't look down. She didn't back away. She stared straight into his eyes and said, "I'm not lying for you ever again." He lowered his head, and they took him away. And in that moment, my life restarted. We restarted. We were reborn. When the courtroom door closed behind Claudio, I felt something strange. It wasn't instant relief. It wasn't joy. It wasn't the sweet taste of revenge. It was emptiness. Like someone had ripped a massive weight off my shoulders, but my body hadn't yet realized it was finally free. I sat there for a few seconds, staring at nothing, hands resting on my knees, trying to convince my mind that this was real, that I wasn't going to wake up in bed to him telling me it was just a dream, that I was exaggerating again. The judge was already gone. Papers were being gathered, footsteps echoed around the room. But inside me, time had stopped. It was Emily's hand on mine that brought me back. "Mom," her voice was soft, small. I looked at her, her eyes still red, her face exhausted, her hands cold. But there was something new there, a light, a kind of peace I hadn't seen on her in so long. "It's okay now," she whispered, as if trying to convince me and also herself. I inhaled deeply. Air finally filled my lungs all the way down. "We finally have a chance," I said, my voice shaky. We left the courthouse with Dr. Helena at our side. She listed the next steps: protective orders, reports, recommended therapy, supervised visitation, involvement from the DA's office. I heard her, but it felt like I was underwater, until one sentence sliced through the fog. "Lorena, you aren't unprotected anymore. This is documented now, recognized. He can't do to you anymore what he used to, and he can't do it to Emily either. You aren't unprotected anymore." Those words hit me deep. For years, I had lived like someone walking down a dark street with no lights, no map, no home. Now, for the first time, I had a sign pointing towards safety. In the car, Emily leaned her head against the window. Silence filled the space. Then she whispered, "I'm scared, but also relieved. Is that normal?" I smiled faintly, tears blurring my eyes. "It's normal. We were trained to be afraid of him, so your body needs time to understand it doesn't have to fear him anymore." She closed her eyes, and for the first time in months, I heard her fall asleep without flinching. The house that no longer felt like a battlefield. When we got home, I opened the door with the same key as always, but everything felt different. The same couch, the same table, the same pictures on the wall, but the air was new. He wasn't there. His presence wasn't there. The fear wasn't there. Emily walked in slowly, as if seeing the place for the first time. "It's quieter," she said. I laughed softly. "It's always been quiet. The difference is that now the silence doesn't threaten us. It rests us." She dropped her backpack on the floor and instinctively glanced down the hallway, as if expecting him to appear, ready to criticize something. But no one came. She exhaled. "Mom, can I ask you something? Anything. Can you show me where you keep the house papers? Bills, documents, everything? I want to understand our life. I want to be part of it." That hit me so deeply. For so long, he had used ignorance as a weapon. He knew everything. I knew nothing. Seeing my daughter wanting to take part in building our life was symbolic. She didn't want to be a rope in a tug of war anymore. She wanted to be a person in her own story. I grabbed an old folder overflowing with envelopes, contracts, bills, back from when I still believed marriage meant shared work. We sat at the kitchen table, spread out the papers. "This is the house. This is the electric bill. This was the health insurance, but he canceled it without telling me." Emily frowned. "He canceled it?" "He did. Said it was too expensive, but he kept paying for his premium phone plan." She grew quiet. "Mom, he didn't want you healthy." Her words cut like a scalpel, clean, precise, painfully true. I closed my eyes. That was it. He didn't want me strong. He needed me weak, exhausted, confused, because strong women are hard to control. The aftermath. Who stayed, who vanished, who pretended. News traveled fast. His sister texted, "I never imagined this for my brother, but if Emily had the courage to expose it, something serious happened. I'm here if you need anything." It felt strange, support from someone from his side. Strange, but oddly healing. Others stayed silent. Others minimized. But he was always such a good father. Relationships are complicated. I stopped replying to those people, stopped justifying, stopped explaining. I didn't need to convince anyone anymore. Those who wanted to understand, understood. Those who didn't, stayed behind. For the first time, I had the right to choose who entered my life, and that was liberating. Later that night, sitting on the couch, the TV on just to fill the silence, Emily asked, "Mom, do you hate me?" My heart twisted. Of course not. Why would you think that? Because I took too long. Because I lied for him. Because I stayed on his side for a while. I took her hand. He was your father. He manipulated you the same way he manipulated me. The difference is, you broke free earlier than I did. Do you know what that means? She shook her head. It means you're stronger than I was at your age. She started crying, but it wasn't the heavy, suffocating kind of cry. It was the emptying kind, the kind that lets guilt drain out. I wanted to defend you sooner. You defended me the way you could. And today, you saved me in a way nobody else could. She rested her head on my shoulder. For the first time in months, I felt my daughter close to me, truly close. Not just physically, but in spirit, in truth, in connection. The new rules of my life. The days that followed were full of paperwork, calls, courthouse visits, nosy messages from people pretending to care. But inside me, something was reorganizing. I would never again let anyone call me crazy. I would never again let anyone say my pain was exaggeration. I would never again let anyone act like my daughter was easily influenced. I started saying no with more strength. No to unnecessary opinions. No to sexist advice. No to judgmental looks. And most importantly, I started saying yes to something I had never really said before. Yes, I deserve peace. Every day, that sentence felt less strange and more true. There are nights when I still wake up thinking it was all a dream, that none of it happened, that the door will open and he'll walk in saying, "I'm overreacting," that I misunderstood, that it wasn't like that. But then I breathe, look around, and remember, the house is silent. Not the frightening silence, the welcoming silence. The silence that gives my lungs back their air. And then I remember, it's over. The war is over. The fear is over. The cycle is over. And for the first time, I can exist without tiptoeing through my own life. Today, my routine feels like a different world. I drink my morning coffee without rushing, without checking the humidity of someone else's mood. I fix my hair with music playing, without fear of someone bursting in to complain about unnecessary noise. Emily leaves for school lighter, more present, more herself. She laughs again. Not the nervous, forced laugh she developed under fear, but the soft, sparkling laugh she had as a little girl. Sometimes she snuggles next to me on the couch and rests her head on my shoulder. "Mom, it feels like someone opened a window inside of us." And I know exactly what she means. For years, we were living in stale air, thick with fear, silence, and doubt. Now we breathe again. Not perfectly, not without pain, but freely. The small things that became victories. I regained things I didn't even know I'd lost. The taste of eating in peace, the habit of singing while I cook, the desire to tidy the house with music on, the freedom to wear whatever I want, the safety of being quiet without fear of judgment. For years, I lived feeling like my very existence was a mistake. Today, I exist fully, and I don't apologize for it. People sometimes ask me if I think about him, if I'm still angry, if I want to confront him again, if I'm afraid. The truth? No. I feel nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's like he stopped being a presence and became just a story. Not my story, but his. The story he built with his own hands. He tried to erase me from the inside out, tried to erase my strength, my identity, my self-worth, my relationship with my daughter. But in the end, he erased only his own mask. I don't carry his weight anymore. I handed it all back. Everything he tried to place inside my soul that didn't belong to me. Today, he is just the past, and the past has no power over someone who has decided to move forward. The night before the real beginning, last night, Emily knocked softly on my door. "Can I come in?" "Of course, sweetheart." She sat on the edge of my bed, hugging her knees, staring at her hands. "Mom, did I make you suffer when I was on his side?" That question pierced me. I sat beside her, held her hand. "Em, you were a child trying to please someone who was very good at manipulating. You did not cause my pain. You were caught inside it." Her eyes filled with tears. "I thought you would hate me." I pulled her into my arms. "Sweetheart, you were my proof, my light, my voice. You were everything I needed when I thought I had nothing left." She cried on my shoulder until she fell asleep. And while I held her, one truth settled deep in my chest. The love between a mother and daughter survives even the cruelest fear, survives silence, survives confusion, survives trauma. And when it can breathe again, it blooms. Now, to you, the one who's listening to this. I know there are women reading this with tight chests, women holding their phones with trembling hands, women swallowing tears because they've heard phrases like, "You're too sensitive," "You're overthinking," "You remember it wrong," "You cause everything." I know someone out there is thinking, "That sounds like me." So let me tell you something important, woman to woman. You are not crazy. You are not weak. You are not difficult. You are not the problem. You are tired. You are wounded. You are trying to survive a pain you never told anyone about. And maybe you've been surviving alone. But right here, right now, you're not alone. I'm telling you my story so you understand. No one deserves to live faded. No one deserves fear inside their own home. No one deserves to be silenced inside their own life. And you deserve more, so much more. If my story touched your heart, if it pressed on a bruise you tried to ignore, if it made your throat tighten, let me wrap you in words. You deserve love that doesn't hurt, respect that doesn't fluctuate, peace that doesn't depend on someone's mood. You deserve to be you, whole, alive, visible, heard. And if one day your voice trembles, may someone beside you have the courage my daughter had for me. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. Thank you for existing. You matter more than you can imagine.